Broadcasting live from sunny South Florida, and the best way to start your Saturday. This is KMA Talk Radio. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of fine cigars.
Rock, I just want to let you know, we know you're an extremely busy guy. I want to thank you very much for joining us this morning on KMA Talk Radio. Obviously, we got some big news that Coop wants to go over, and I don't think there's a better guy who can give us some real insight to what exactly this means. So, Coop, you want to?
Yeah. So I think everyone knows the story, but a big victory in the courts. Rocky, personally, I want to thank you because I know you've been very involved with this for many, many years. But this is a big win in the court. Maybe you've been on the front lines of this for over a decade. Tell us how big a victory this is from someone who's been in the front lines right now.
Well, I mean, this is a monumental win for the entire cigar industry. To have a federal judge rule against a government agency, especially dealing with tobacco issue, is just huge. This is a big victory for us because it would have wiped out about 80% of the total industry. I got involved at the very beginning because I was nervous about this overreaching, egregious regulation from the FDA, and I knew that they were going to just keep layering and layering and layering, deeming regulations to the point where it became de facto prohibition. It was very evident that they weren't looking at the data, at the science, and they wanted to treat us like cigarettes. And their ultimate goal was to abolish tobacco from the face of the planet. And they're backed by, Tobacco Free Kids, American Cancer Association, Tobacco Free, the World Health Organization, on and on and on. So we decided early on to get involved and hire epidemiologists to get into the science, to really fight back with data, to look at youth access data. And, we were well prepared with our great attorney, Michael Edney, and we took the litigation. The first round was we fought the warning stickers, and we proved to them that the FDA did not have enough science to show that kids were smoking cigars. They didn't have enough science to show that premium cigars posed a health risk to the public at large, and the judge ruled in our favor, and he cited the First Amendment and claimed that we had the freedom of speech to present our vintage tobaccos and to talk about our wonderful cigars on the face of the boxes like they do on bottles of wine and bottles of scotch. And so that was a big win for us. And then after that, we went after substantial equivalence, pre-market review, and constituent testing. And, we did some more research. We obtained the records from the New England Journal of Medicine. We obtained more data that the FDA had, included that in our briefs. I prepared declarations to show that, a company like ours that has 3,500 SKUs would cost over $60 million to comply. It would be impossible. It would cost about 500,000 jobs in Nicaragua, Honduras, and Dominican, 3,500 retailers in the United States. Many of them working for generations on Main Street would be out of work. Again, we took the science right to them. And the judge looked at all the data again on this case and said that the FDA has not provided any evidence, again, to show that our youth access issues, the consumption patterns are low. Less than 0.01% of children ever smoked a premium cigar, and that the premium cigars do not cause a health hazard or possess a health hazard. And again, he ruled in our favor. And then finally, we were just waiting to see whether the judge was going to send the rule back to the FDA, and the FDA was going to come up with a more tailored regulation for premium cigars. And then I worked with Edney, and I tried to get the troops to rally and say, we have to file a supplemental brief and ask the judge to vacate the entire rule, especially in the light of the new NASEM study. And it was a study that the FDA hired these top scientists who are pretty much anti-tobacco and written books against tobacco. And they stacked this committee, and this committee came back and said premium cigars are unique and different. They're not used by kids. Children don't smoke them. The consumption patterns are low, and there is no evidence that they pose a risk to the public. And so that was a great report. We included that report in it. We included all the other data about how it affects the companies. We can't plan to build new farms. We can't plan to build new factories. When we're ordering packaging, for example, that we've got to order it for like 4 or 5 years out. And now we're kind of hamstrung, and we're buying 6 months, 4 months, and they're literally holding us hostage. And it's very, very expensive to run a business this way. And I think if you read the judge's opinion, He points to all these things out in his opinion, lays it out very clearly, very tactfully, and really realizes and points out that the premium cigar is a unique cottage industry that can't bear this burden, and there's no reason to regulate it. We're very, very, very happy and proud of the decision.
Now, Rock, I got to say, I know for a fact how hard and how involved you've been in a decade, probably plus, of not just following through the litigation, going to Capitol Hill, talking to people. I mean, no one can contest that you've been, in a group of people that have been at the lead of it, and pretty much everyone who I believe is in the cigar universe is grateful to you. I think it's safe to say that this was a judgment that none of us really thought was going to happen. I think we thought it was such a long shot, and now that we're here, Rock, and I think the true things that everybody's really concerned was, because we know government's not going away. I mean, eventually, I think the best we can hope for is some kind of form of controlled, tolerable regulation that may work. What happens now? Do you think that there'll be an appeal? Do you think that the FDA will come back and change the deeming regulations? How does it affect the FDA fees? Now, are there still regulatory fees that you and the cigar industry are still responsible for at this point?
Well, let me say this, that if you fit within the definition as defined by the judge of what a premium cigar is, I don't think that the FDA can do anything at all, period. Okay, now they have 60 days within which they can appeal it. After reading the opinion, it is so well written and it is so tight, and it points to a lot of constitutional authority. Every single point in the brief that the Justice Department was trying to defend or argue, the judge just technically tore it apart, cited law cases, Supreme Court cases, and it is a very well tight written opinion. I just don't think that they can win this on appeal. I really doubt if the Justice Department is going to appeal this. I don't see any leeway. He even went on page 11 into the user fees, and he said basically the FDA has been illegally collecting user fees against a category that ought not to be regulated and should not have been regulated. So our next battle is to go after the user fees they've already collected, and user fees in the future. And that'll happen in administrative court. It's a different strategy. It's a different lawsuit that we're going to pursue. But I don't see how the FDA goes around this, as long as you fall within the definition of premium cigar, that they can have any new deeming rule. It wiped out the manufacturing practices where our factories would have to be signed slabs. So this is a very well tight written opinion, well thought out. He's looked at all the data. He's looked at all the science. He's considered everything. So I think we're pretty solid right now.
Are you required to continue paying user fees at this point?
Well, because we have to till we go to administrative court and can get a formal waiver of the user fees in court. So till now, there's a procedure that takes place, and we actually have to go through an administrative court, special court, to go and get the user fees wiped out, and we have to look at everything, and it doesn't make sense, because now they can't regulate this agency according to Judge Mehta, and the premium cigar category is exempt from regulation. So why should we have to pay user fees for something that they don't need to regulate? And all along we've been paying them to regulate us, which is mind blowing.
Yeah, right. Rock, you bring up a good point. I actually took the time to read the opinion, and like you said, it is very well written. I mean, the judge literally took the time to even. It almost looks like you said, it almost hurts an appeal chance, because it took the time to consider things that the FDA would argue. I mean, it was very well written, and I would suggest anyone. It's not like super legal mumbo jumbo. If you can, anyone that can read will be able to understand parts of it. But where are we with flavored cigars, and is that our next battle?
Sorry, guys, I have a real bad connection. I can't hear. I couldn't hear that. But I'm sorry, I couldn't hear anything there. No,
he'll repeat it. By definition, where do the flavored cigars fall into this? Are they not included in this hearing?
The flavors are not included in this definition right now. And, I believe that in September, October, the FDA is going to come out with a new rule that regulates flavors. At that point, there'll be a public comment period. Then they'll review the comments and come up with the final rule, at which point I believe the companies that are curious or involved with flavors will then litigate that issue and probably argue that flavored cigars, just like the premium cigars, are not smoked by kids for several reasons, the cost, etc. And they are a premium cigar, just like any ordinary premium cigar. And that's a different battle down the line that will be fought. And, I think that there's relevant data and science to show that premium flavored cigars don't pose a risk to the public at large also. And so that's the next battle. I think it's important to get this across the finish line and, save the premium cigar category. And the next challenge would be to take the premium cigars that are infused or flavorful and then argue that case. And that's the next step. So,
Rocky,
gentlemen, I got to go.
Okay.
I love
Thank you, Rocky.
all. I'm sorry I'm doing an event over here in New Hampshire, two guys. And Abe, I love you very much. And this is a great week for the cigar industry. Keep up the good work. Keep up the advocacy for this beautiful cottage industry that we have, that we work so hard to. And for all you consumers out there, keep smoking and enjoying cigars. And remember, we still have state battles. We still have tax caps. We have anti-smoking regulation and state issues still to fight. So don't give up. This was a big win for now, but we still have a lot to accomplish.
Thank you, Rocky.
Yeah, we appreciate your time.
Love you guys.